It had everything. It had sex, drugs, buried treasure, deceit.
It's been 6 years since casino mogul Ted Binion died. Just ahead, a look forward to the new trial of Sandy Murphy and Rick Tabish.
It's a group that has solved some of the Valley's most notorious crimes. Coming up, the success of Crimestoppers.
And 6 children are home alone when a criminal breaks in. We'll tell you what happened.
You're watching Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 6. It's not just news, it's Eyewitness News.
Maybe it felt like a soap opera, but this was a real-life Las Vegas murder trial. Good evening, and thanks for joining us.
It has been 6 years since the death of casino exec Ted Binion, and on this anniversary, his accused murderers, Sandy Murphy and Rick Tabish, are gearing up for a new murder trial. That trial is set to begin in less than a month. Eyewitness News reporter Cindy Cesare has followed the case through the years, and she joins us now with the story. Boy, less than a month.
I know, less than a month, and I wasn't actually here for the first murder trial, but I've been watching this case closely since the convictions were overturned. And it's well known that the first murder trial gained interest around the world, and the courthouse and attorneys are preparing for the same frenzy the second time around.
This was a tremendous soap opera. Unfortunately, someone had to die to make it such a soap opera.
I just heard about his flying to Montana.
It was 6 years ago today that the soap opera began. Casino mogul Ted Binion was found dead at his home. The Clark County Coroner's Office called it a heroin overdose. But a Binion family investigation turned over suspicious evidence to the district attorney's office, and that led to the arrest of Binion's girlfriend, former stripper Sandy Murphy, and her lover, Rick Tabish. Channel 8's sister station, Las Vegas 1, carried the trial live. There are new owners of the Binion home here at 2408 Palomino Lane, and 6 years later, it is difficult to imagine that it was this home that caused such a frenzy around the world.
It was an amazing case. As you know, LV1's ratings beat out Oprah Winfrey every afternoon. On a national level, Court TV covered the case, and they told me that their ratings were the highest since the O.J. Simpson case.
I'm not sure that a lot of people sitting in Iowa are planning vacations to Las Vegas for this trial. We had a lot of people that did that last time. They dropped in. This sort of became the trial to watch.
Murphy and Tabish's convictions were overturned by the Nevada Supreme Court based on a technicality that unrelated charges were included in the first trial. Murphy was released from prison last December, and Tabish remains behind bars based on those unrelated charges. The new trial starts October 11th.
And there is some new evidence in this case that I can't discuss. Some of it is important, others are maybe nuances in the case that are new.
The defense teams have also said that they have new evidence, including a mafia murder plot to kill Ted Binion. But we will just have to wait less than a month to see and hear all of this evidence. Las Vegas 1, our sister channel, Channel 19, will again carry this trial live. It'll be interesting to see if the ratings beat out some of the major syndicated shows on TV again this time. And also, they're not expecting so many people to fill up the courtroom as they did the first time around. However, if so many people show up, they will institute a lottery system for the public to sit down and watch.
The people who did sit in, they wrote books and things like that. Maybe they're thinking book 2.
Yeah, 4 books came out after the last trial.
All right, thanks, Cindy. Well, an autopsy was performed today on human remains found near Fallon to see if they are those of a missing woman believed to have been kidnapped nearly 1 year ago. 33-year-old Bertha Anguiana vanished last November after dropping her son off at a Carson City school. Another son who was with her at the time was found abandoned and covered in blood a few hours later. Well, the boy told police he and his mother had been pushed from a truck and that his mom had been hit with a stick and killed. The remains that are being tested were found earlier this week.
Getting dangerous criminals off the street is certainly a goal of Crimestoppers, which is celebrating now its 25th anniversary here in the Valley. As Eyewitness News reporter Alison McCarthy shows us, anonymous tips from citizens have helped police solve thousands of crimes, including many high-profile cases you might remember.
It was a Crimestoppers tip that led police to the man accused in the recent beating death of a Walmart patron. And 2 years ago, a nationwide manhunt for the man who brutally murdered his girlfriend and her son finally ended when police learned of Timmy Weber's whereabouts from an observant citizen who did the right thing.
People are conscientious of what's going on in their community. They themselves may have been the victim of a similar crime. They don't want the people to become victims or people out there left hanging without the cases being solved.
For others, it may be the $2,000 reward that entices a caller to pick up the phone. Whatever the reason, more than 110,000 calls have been made to the Crimestoppers anonymous hotline since 1979. Those tips have led to the recovery of more than $60 million worth of stolen property and the arrests of more than 10,000 suspects. Here's a look at Crimestoppers' impressive track record for solving crimes. More than 350 murders, more than 1,300 robberies and burglaries, 55 sexual assaults, 8 arsons, and more than 7,000.
We apologize for the missing video there, but we can tell you that Crimestoppers has paid out more than $1.4 million in reward money since 1979. The 24-hour hotline number, if you don't know it by heart now, 385-5555.
A teenage girl is recovering from a gunshot wound after a bizarre home invasion. It all took place overnight at the Spring Point condominium complex near Las Vegas Boulevard in Cheyenne. The 15-year-old victim was the oldest of 6 children staying there without parental supervision. Police say the intruder kicked in the door. Neighbors then heard 2 gunshots, one of which struck the victim in the knee. Police do not know if this was a premeditated or random crime
right now, and it's hard to tell because our investigators aren't that far into it to really make that kind of determination. You know, we of course look at it both ways, you know, or we see if there's any kind of criminal activity that's going on inside the apartment.
It's not clear if the parents will face child neglect charges. Police are still searching for the shooter.
Apparently there is little improvement for a 14-year-old boy hit by a car Wednesday. Metro says he rolled through a stop sign on his bicycle and was struck by a car. Now, the next day, a 20-year-old on a bike was killed by a car when it struck him from behind. The car sped off, and police are still looking for the driver. You know, many people who commute to work on bikes have stories of near misses or collisions with cars. Sometimes it's the driver's fault for not looking or driving in the bike lane. Other times it's the cyclist's fault for not riding with the flow of traffic.
When I hear a car coming, I acknowledge it by turning my head just a hair.
Everyone has their own technique to drive defensively and stay safe. The most important thing for drivers and cyclists is just to be aware of what's around you. The Nevada Supreme Court has reversed 2 of the 3 convictions of Mitchell Detloff. He was convicted of 3 counts in connection with leaving the scene of an accident in which 3 people were killed. The judge refused to throw out the case altogether. The ruling, though, shouldn't affect the immediate future of Detloff, who is serving 3 concurrent sentences of 4 to 10 years in prison. Accusations of prostitution have left one Valley strip club without a liquor license, but is Treasures the only one that should pay such a price? Up next, see what police reports reveal about other local strip clubs.
And life after Ivan. The monster storm moves away. People along the Gulf Coast states try to move on with their lives.
You're watching Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 6 with Gary Waddell, Paula Francis, Neighborhood Weather with Kevin Janison, and Sports with Dave McCann. It's not just news, it's Eyewitness News.
The experience at strip clubs could become a whole lot different if the city of Las Vegas decides to ban skin-on-skin contact at gentlemen's clubs. Metro Police and city officials are looking into whether the ordinance should be changed after Treasures was denied a permanent liquor license earlier this week. Channel 8 Eyewitness News is live. LuAnne Sorrell joins us from Treasures with more on the story. LuAnne.
Well, Polly, Treasures was denied a permanent liquor license after a dancer here was convicted of soliciting prostitution. But other clubs in the Valley have had more citations than Treasures, which begs the question, are their licenses next? From billboards advertising girls who can be in your room in 20 minutes flat to scintillating ads for massage parlors, it's no secret that sex is big business in Las Vegas.
We do not own houses of prostitution. That's not the business we're in.
Dolores Eliadis co-owns the Olympic Garden Gentlemen's Club. She says she does everything she can to make sure prostitution does not happen inside her club.
We train every individual from the day they come on board. They understand the rules of the city.
The city denied Treasure strip club owners from getting a permanent liquor license because a dancer was convicted of soliciting prostitution. But according to Metro Police, they are not the worst offenders. This year, more citations were given to dancers at Crazy Horse 2, Olympic Garden, and Cheetahs, causing some concern with other strip club owners that they too may become the next target in the city's sights.
We are always concerned.
City and county officials are now looking into whether to ban skin-on-skin contact between dancers and customers. But Councilman Larry Brown says revoking other strip clubs' liquor licenses is unlikely.
When we issue a temporary license, which is when we look at the suitability of the ownership, like in the Treasurer's case, we have tremendous discretion. Once we issue that permanent license, it's far more difficult to go back in time to prove suitability.
Now, the county commission discussed whether to ban skin-on-skin contact in strip clubs 2 years ago, but no changes were ever made. Metro and the Business License Department is expected to present its findings to the City Council in coming weeks. Reporting live from Treasures, I'm LuAnne Sorrell, Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
Well, dead batteries and a marina employee may have helped save Lake Mead from becoming infested with zebra mussels. The National Park Service says several dozen dead zebra mussels were discovered this week on the stern of a yacht that was just about to be launched from the ramp of the Lake Mead Marina. The launch was stopped after it was discovered the batteries were dead, and that's when the marina employee noticed the dead mussels. The mollusks have caused millions of dollars in damage in the Great Lakes region by clogging intake pipes for water supplies and ruining boat engines. Good news for people who have to drive between Las Vegas and Phoenix over Hoover Dam. Dayna Roselli's live in Chopper 8 above the dam with an update on the project for the dam bypass. Dayna?
Well, the project is moving right along, and so are the sub-projects associated with the Hoover Dam bypass. Now, 4 firms have submitted bids to build the Colorado River Bridge that will bypass Hoover Dam north of Kingman. Federal officials are reviewing bids at this time for the contract to build the bypass bridge. Now, the project's manager says the Arizona approach to the bridge is more than 90% complete, and that's what we're over right now. You're looking at a live picture of that. Now, the Nevada side, though, is 50% complete. Now, the winning bidder will build a 2,000-foot bridge just downstream from the Hoover Dam. The project is slated to be complete in 2008, and I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate that. Reporting live from Chopper 8, Dayna Roselli, Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks, Dayna.
2008 is going to be here before we know it.
You know how that goes. There are still 73 days left in the hurricane season, and Ivan is still moving through the U.S.
Still ahead on Eyewitness News live at 6, the latest on the destruction left behind and where the storm is tonight.
I'm Kevin Janison at the Greek Food Festival, where we will tantalize your taste buds and give you that turbulent weekend forecast, too. That's just a few minutes away, but Eyewitness News will be right back.
Channel 8 Eyewitness News at 6. It's not just news, it's Eyewitness News.
People living up in Mount Charleston say they are being buried in garbage with little or no relief in sight. Millions of people visit the Spring Mountains each year, and many of them choose to dump their food wrappers and beer bottles out onto the ground. Part of the problem is that there are too few trash dumpsters on the mountain, plus anti-littering enforcement is, well, it's almost non-existent. Mount Charleston doesn't have nearly enough facilities to cope with the huge number of visitors.
The facilities in the canyon are very limited, and they need improvement and they need expansion. We're talking a couple of bathrooms in the entire canyon. You know, that doesn't facilitate for 40,000 people on a weekend. You know, the campgrounds are overtaxed and overloaded. The parking along the way is overtaxed and overloading. The garbage, it just mounts and it just goes on and on and on.
People living there feel they are being ignored by government agencies. Well, tomorrow night at 8 p.m., I-Team reporter George Knapp will host a one-hour program called Trouble on the Mountain, and it'll look at some of the dire challenges that face the mountain and the people that live there, including the likelihood of a catastrophic fire.
The remnants of Hurricane Ivan are piling up all along the Gulf Coast as people living there sift through what was once their homes. Streets in Pensacola, Florida are littered with debris, businesses are ripped apart, and thousands are without water and power. Just outside Pensacola, massive waves washed up part of the Interstate 10, closing the major east-west artery indefinitely. As the cleanup from this third major hurricane begins, Florida's governor is trying to keep spirits high.
I think history will show that we have responded to these challenges, unprecedented challenges, in ways that define us as loving and as courageous.
Ivan is now weaker but still causing problems in the Carolinas and Tennessee. Floodwaters are swamping homes and knocking out power there too.
Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Jean is still lingering over the Dominican Republic, pounding the island with an extra dose of deadly winds and damaging rains. The storm hit the island yesterday as a hurricane, but then weakened as it slowly moved across. It is being blamed for the deaths of at least 2 people there and 2 in Puerto Rico, where it hit earlier in the week. Forecasters say it could eventually hit the U.S., anywhere from Florida to South Carolina.
Well, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, there's a motorcycle convention, there's a tattoo convention, and why not head out to a festival filled with great Greek food and culture?
Kevin Johnson's there already. He's out at the Greek Food Festival near Hacienda and Jones, and with your neighborhood weather forecast too, Kevin.
All right, Dave, and it is food with the exclamation point. We're back here in the Ocean Tavern, but that's not the right pronunciation.
Taverna Okeanos is the correct pronunciation.
All right, Pete, thank you very much. And look, we've got the cheese, and look out. Why do you torch the cheese like that?
Because it tastes so much better when you torch it.
Fried cheese.
Yeah, absolutely, fried cheese.
I like that. You get your salary doubled for dealing with all this heat, don't you? Yes, sir. That's very important. And look at the filet, and we've got some wonderful food back here. We'll show you that in just a second. Preparing it just right. But here's real-time neighborhood weather. The Greek Food Festival is on Hacienda, just west of Jones. Closest weather station is over near Jones and Tropicana. They're at 95 degrees. A little breeze right now. Go across town, east side of the valley at Washington and Mount Hood. They're at 95 degrees. Down in Green Valley, Pecos and Warm Springs, they're coming in at 94. And we'll head on over to the northwest part of town near Rampart and Lake Mead, where it's an even 90. A little breezy in part. Ooh, that's a lot of smoke in parts of town, but we'll see even more wind as we get through the rest of the weekend. In fact, there could be gusts over 40. Highs today, mid-90s to about 100. Outside the valley of the mountain in the mid-70s. Laughlin hit 98 degrees. On the satellite picture, you can basically see where all the leftovers from Ivan would be. Pounding rain in the middle Atlantic states. On the wider tropical view, Jean is out in the islands, and farther out in the Atlantic is Carl. We have to watch both of those very closely. And then there's Hurricane Javier off the coast of Baja, which will pass some moisture our way, but I think that strong cold front coming down from the Pacific Northwest will push most of Javier's moisture south and east of town. Tonight's forecast clear. Look for a low temperature of 74 degrees. A little breezy at times, but the stronger winds are tomorrow, where they could gust 2 or even over 40 miles per hour. Look for a high in the low 90s, and there is that slight chance for thunderstorms, but again, I think they're going to stay south or east of the valley. 7-day forecast now. Strong thunderstorms, strong winds, let me rephrase that. Strong winds will continue into Sunday, gusting possibly over 40 miles per hour. And look at that, much, much cooler air with highs by Tuesday only in the upper 70s and lows in the 50s. Wow. All right, Pete, show us the food.
We got right here domadas, which is beef and rice wrapped in a grape leaves. Very good and tasty. Next to that, we have spinach pie called spanakopita. We got tiropita, which is cheese pie. And over here, the world-famous calamari, the fried squid.
It is a genuine feast here in the Ocean Tavern.
That it is.
How'd you do on TV?
How did I do on TV? I don't know. How did I do?
You have to ask your wife. Look in the camera and say, here's Chris with sports.
Here's Chris with sports.
Well, nice job. Good job. We appreciate that. Hey, it's the night before the biggest fight in years. Bernard Hopkins faces the Golden Boy over at the MGM. And today they met for the last time before stepping in the ring. More on today's weigh-in. Plus, Lem Banker will be along with a pick on that big fight, plus some football. That's coming up next right here on Channel 8. All right, Bernard Hopkins and De La Hoya have walked the walk and talked the talk, and now they're getting set for the big fight, and they jumped right onto the scale this afternoon.
155 pounds, the Golden Boy. 156 pounds, Bernard Hopkins.
The fight is sold out, but available on closed circuit TV around town, or you can catch it on pay-per-view. Saturday's fight must be something special. Don't know if this official program is the best ever, but certainly carries the best credentials.
This is the biggest boxing program that's ever been published in the history of boxing. 112 pages, weighs over 1.5 pounds, close to 2 pounds.
Caesar's Palace is hoping to revive the glory years when they were known as the home of champions. Today they unveiled a new outdoor amphitheater.
Let's get ready for boxing.
Vladimir Klitschko and Devaro Williamson will make their debut in the new amphitheater October 2nd. Well, as UNLV gears up for its home opener, Coach John Robinson announcing that Shane Steichen will be the starting quarterback. He played nearly the entire game against Wisconsin. Kickoff set for tomorrow, 7 p.m. And finally, there is plenty of football this big weekend, and hopefully to get you started on the right foot is sports bettor Lem Banker.
Hi, Channel 8 sport fans. Checkers is getting groomed today, so we're going to do it alone. Great fight. So they're comparing this fight with the Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard fight. I was there. They gave Leonard the decision. I thought Hagler won the fight. There's been a lot of bad decisions. I'm going with De La Hoya. You can get about 220 to 1. That's my choice. Let's go on, see if we can pick some football winners. Let's go with Maryland against West Virginia. That's an early game, about 9 o'clock. Also, we're going to go with Florida State over UAB. How about Hawaii over Rice? And the NFL looks real good. I'm going to give you just 3 games. I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens over the Pittsburgh Steelers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Seattle Seahawks, and the late game, San Diego Chargers over the Jets. Hey, you know what happened to me last week? Very embarrassing. I hate to even tell you. I got stopped by Metro, believe it or not. What do you think the violation was? Wearing white shoes after Labor Day. It's so embarrassing. Just a small fine. Never wear white shoes after Labor Day. When I still get them on.
Big
all right.
no.
He likes De La Hoya. We'll see what happens tomorrow night.
And he likes the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Chris.
Coming up tonight at 11, a city geared to adults. Teens look for any place to legally hang out, but more and more malls are enforcing curfews across the nation. Could it happen here? And where would teens go? And in Colorado, 2 fraternity deaths in 2 weeks. What teens are doing with their time now has some concern. Those stories and more all coming up tonight at 11, and that's it for Channel 8 Eyewitness News Live at 6.
The Insider is next. We'll see you tonight at 11. Have a great weekend.